Welcome to Red Hot Marriages. This is a weekly Christian podcast where intimacy, connection, and covenant come back into God's design. So, whether you've been married 5 years or 50 years, I promise that you will learn something in this podcast that will help you in your marriage. I'm your host, Coach Yolanda, the nation's premier marriage and relationship coach. And today, we're talking about from covenant to connection. This is a safe space. This is a healing place. This is a place where we speak the truth in love. So take a deep breath, slow down, and let's lean into God's design for intimacy together. Many couples are committed but disconnected. You kept the vow. You stayed faithful. You didn't cheat and you didn't walk away when it got hard. But over time, your connection slowly faded. Covenant says we will not leave. Connection says I still choose you every day. See, marriage doesn't thrive on vows alone. It thrives on emotional presence. Did you hear what I just said? I said marriage doesn't thrive on vows alone. You took your vows. You meant them when you said it. You stayed. You didn't leave. You were physically present. But being physically present is not the kind of marriage we want. A marriage thrives on emotional presence, connection. Emotional connection is built through listening without fixing. It's built on touch without pressure. It's built on curiosity without judgment. And it's built on time without distraction. Many marriages die emotionally while staying legally alive. Did you hear what I just said? I said you can have a marriage on paper, but emotionally, your marriage is dead. Wow. How many of us know couples who are married on paper, but emotionally, they're roommates? He's doing his thing, she's doing her thing. It's not a marriage. They're roommates who happen to have a marriage license. But how many of you know can say, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me, and that's not my marriage? Marriages die emotionally, not because love ended, but because connection stopped being intentional. Wow. The connection, the emotional connection stopped being intentional. Remember when we were dating, how you couldn't wait. You were calling. You were texting if you had texting when you guys were dating. You would call, you would text. You would stay on the phone for at least an hour. You never ran out of things to say. You were always pleasant. You never said a sharp word. You were dating. You had your best foot forward. You were intentional about quality time, about listening, not trying to fix them. You just wanted to be around them. It wasn't the pressure to have sex. You just wanted to be around them because you really enjoyed them. And you were intentionally connecting when you were dating. But then you got married and you had grown up jobs, which demanded grown up time. And then you had children, and then you had aging parents. And then you became empty nesters. And then you looked up one day and you was like, who are you? Because in every season of our lives, we change. That's why you have to intentionally choose connection every single day. You don't want to look up 10, 20 years from now. The kids are gone, and you're like, who is this person in my house? I don't know you because the guy I married, you're not him because you evolved and you grew up, but I didn't grow with you. So now we're different and we're not emotionally connected. But all is not lost. It can be fixed. Stick with me. Ask yourself this question. Am I protecting the covenant but neglecting my emotional connection with my spouse? Hmm. I'm protecting my vows. I'm faithful. I come home to her. I come home to him. But am I neglecting being emotionally present with my spouse? I'm physically present, but am I there emotionally? Am I chasing them like I did when we were dating? And if we're honest, the majority of married couples can say, no, I'm not. What I'm saying to you is that's very common, but over time, it's going to make the gap get bigger and bigger, and we're going to drift apart slowly. And before you know it, one day you're going to look up and you're going to be married to somebody you don't know. That's why this podcast exists. We want to keep you from getting to that point. Stick with me. Am I protecting the marriage but neglecting the emotional connection? Only you can answer that question. This is your reflection question for the week. Get your journals. Where have I emotionally checked out of my marriage? Whew. Isn't that heavy? Where have I emotionally checked out? Where? Have you said so many hurtful things to your spouse that now your spouse doesn't want you to touch them? And so your spouse has emotionally left the marriage. Physical intimacy is infrequent and mechanical. Why? Because emotionally, your spouse has been crying for attention and you have ignored them or neglected them. And so now sex is okay, whatever. When it used to be, I can't wait. What caused the drift? Emotional disconnection. But we're not looking at them. We're looking at ourselves. Where have I emotionally neglected the marriage? Where have I emotionally neglected my spouse? Let's go deeper. Here's your homework. I want you to write 3 ways that you emotionally show up in your marriage. You think 3 ways that you emotionally show up. And then I want you to write 3 ways that you emotionally avoid. May I give you an example? So, a way you would show up would be how you show up intentionally, emotionally. Um, I would say how I show up emotionally is I listen with my full attention. I'm emotionally present when you speak. How I avoid, let's say if we had to have like a serious conversation or a conversation I don't feel comfortable having, I may withdraw. I may deflect, like you're talking, but I may grab my phone. And so I'm not listening to you because I don't want to have this conversation. That's how you emotionally avoid. You withdraw, you disconnect. Some people even get to the point where they leave the room. But I get angry. I raise my voice. I do stuff that I know is going to make you stop talking to me because I don't want to have this conversation. Those are ways you can avoid emotionally. Those are not positive things. Those are things we need to change. But if we don't know where we are, then we can't change them. What things do I do emotionally well? How do I show up emotionally well in my relationship? Maybe I listen. Maybe I can tell you how I feel without raising my voice, without yelling, without belittling. That is a good way to emotionally show up. Yes. Keep doing those things. Listening, touching without pressure. We talked about that earlier. Being curious and not judging. Like if your spouse say, "Well, I'm believing God for $500 to go on vacation," and you judging instead of saying, "Wow, that's great. You know, I agree with you for that. Where is it that you're wanting to go? And tell me more about it." I'm not judging. I'm curious. So that makes my spouse want to open up and tell me more. When I spend time with my spouse, what we call quality time, uninterrupted, not distracted, that makes my spouse feel seen. That makes my spouse feel heard. Oh, they're spending time. They're really listening to me. They're not on their phone. They're not on TikTok or IG. They're not on Facebook. They're not playing games. They're not watching sports or Hallmark or Lifetime. They're paying attention to me. I feel pursued. I feel like you care. So that makes me want to open up and be open and be vulnerable. That makes me feel romantic. That makes me feel like I want to touch down, which is code for great sex. Makes me want to touch down, right? Because I feel seen. I feel loved. I feel heard. You're touching me because you want me, not because you want sex. I love that. I feel alive. I want to be around you more. That's going to bring back the passion, but that is intentional. We did it like on automatic when we were dating. But now that you're married and you have work demands and children demands and family demands and church demands, and I spend quality time with God, and I got to work out, and you can't neglect your spouse. They can't be at the bottom of your list. They have to be at the top. And so there's this thing in coaching when we talk to married couples about priorities, especially those engaged couples that I counsel, where I talk to them about priorities. And we all know number one is God, but number two is your spouse. Number three is your kids. Number four is your job. Mm. And some of us get those lines blurred, and sometimes work would be number one, and then God may be number two or three. But we got to keep the main thing, and God has to be our number one priority. Our spouse is our number two, then our kids, then our work, then church. Ooh, not God, but church. Church activities, volunteering at church, activities with church comes after our family, not before. And sometimes that's tough for you married couples who are in ministry. And you say, "Ooh, you equate ministry work with God, and it's not the same." There is God. Your relationship with God is number one. Then your relationship with your spouse. Then your kids. Then work. Then church. Then family. Then friends. Then hobbies. They all down there. Nothing is more important than God and your family in your house. And when you get that priority mixed up, or you think you're not getting it mixed up, but they feel like they're not important, then you're missing it. And you can have a covenant and have no connection. And that's when you see couples who've been married 25 years, 35 years, 40 years get a divorce because they have covenant. They may even have love, but they don't have connection. Here's our affirmation for the week. I choose connection, not just commitment. I choose connection. I choose physical connection. I choose emotional connection, not just commitment. Commitment alone is not enough. Commitment alone is not enough. I still loved my first husband when I divorced him. So love is not enough. Commitment is not enough. You have to have connection, not just covenant. We're moving from covenant to connection. That's my best shot. If this episode spoke to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your spouse or a friend or another couple who needs hope and healing. If you're ready to go deeper, download the free intimacy guide in the show notes or below in these show notes. If you are interested in community, if you want emotional support or the support of a group of people walking through this journey, join our free community on School. It's called Red Hot Marriages. You can click the link in the show notes or the notes below, and we will help you begin rebuilding your connection and help you support, because you need a village around you of like-minded people who are going on that same journey with you. Remember, your marriage is not broken, that God restores what we are willing to bring into the light. Until next time, protect your covenant, pursue your spouse, and keep your marriage red hot. See you next time.